Peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. This is part five of my book, If I Decide to Fly, Collected Poems of Affirmation and Celebration for African American Men. When I left off on the last video, I wanted to talk about the first poem that I'm going to present, entitled Brother to Brother. And I wanted to give some backstory on this poem because I thought it was really important that as I read the poems that I'm going to choose to share with you all, it's important that I give you some backstory, if there is a backstory around the poem. I mentioned before that all of these poems were poured into my spirit, I don't remember over what span of time it was. I think it was probably maybe around a week, no more than a month, but it was more than 52 poems. It was a gamut of poems, and the poems that I'm sharing in the book now are the ones that made it into the book, but the others I did not put into the book. There are a couple of poems that came after, and I'll share those pieces with you. But there were a couple of poems that came after the first group of poems that came through my spirit, and I'll let you know which ones those are. But this piece, Brother to Brother, that I'm going to share from my book, I always say whenever I'm sharing this poem that I know it was a piece that was downloaded into my spirit from ancestors. Like, I know that about all the poems, but this one in particular, as I share it with you, you'll hear why I say that. This piece is a piece that's written from a brother's perspective to his brothers. So he's talking to a collective group of African American Nubian men. So I wanted to give that backdrop on the story, because there are a few poems that come from that perspective. You'll hear that although they were channeled through me, I believe that they were channeled from the ancestors, or maybe a particular male ancestor. I don't know. I'm not going to even try to make it up. But brother to brother. Brother to brother, can I talk to you? My heart is aching and I don't know what to do. I kind of get the feeling people just don't understand how hard it really is to be a black man. You see, it goes deeper than the living and the poor self-pride. I guess I'm running from myself, but there's no place to hide. You know about our history and the white man's shame. What happened to our ancestors was inhumane. In my soul, I hear them crying for me to make a stand, to remember how we were hunted and savagely shipped to this land. Through the Middle Passage they traveled, confused and torn, stripped from their babies the minute they were born. Our women were chased and brutally raped. We were given different names, had our lives reshaped. But despite all this, they seemed to reassure me, because keep pushing on, because one day we're gonna be free. So I guess what I'm offering is a challenge to you to be your brother's keeper and to help me through. Because I know I've done some things that just ain't right, but inside there's a part every day I must fight. Alone, I'm a target and could fall prey to the game. But together in partnership, it's ours to proclaim that there's a new war a-waging where we intend to leave our name. So it's true others may never understand how hard it really is to be a black man, but we owe it to our ancestors to do the best we can, and the rest is in the master's plan. Ashe. So there's a whole lot going on in this poem. I mean, just a whole lot going on in this poem. The idea that this brother is talking to his fellow brothers, and he's telling him about his heart aching, and about his internal struggle. And despite the internal struggle, there's an external component that is in juxtaposition to that, and that he has to deal with every day. So not only does he have to deal with his own shit, but he's also got to deal with the things that are going on outside of him. He talks about the middle passage, and he talks about his ancestors, and he talks about what they endured, and them beckoning him to remember their sacrifices and to use that as the fuel to continue to push him through. The key piece of this poem for me is that he is acknowledging that alone, they can't do anything alone. Alone they're a target, alone they are susceptible to fall prey to the vices of the matrix and the world. But he's talking about how if they somehow could find a way to come together as a whole, that would be the answer to defying the odds of them becoming the kings and the gods that they are. So yeah, that's a really, for me, that was a really prophetic piece, because I remember when I used to recite that piece of work, and people would say, Marina, that's a poem that's from a male perspective. And I'm like, yeah, no, I know. And the only credit I take is like being that vessel. It's like being the voice to allow that piece to come through. So yeah, I take credit for that part, but I certainly don't take credit for anything else when it comes to that. I'm trying to see if I'm going to share this piece. This piece is called Now Fly. Around the theme around this book, whenever I sign my book, I always say to brothers, remember, you were created to fly. And I mean that metaphorically and actually literally, because I do believe there is some sense of flight. It may not be the sense of flight from the perspective that we know it, like with birds and, and that kind of flight. But I do believe there's some type of flight that we can aspire to or reach with a higher understanding of ourselves. So metaphorically and literally, yeah. Okay, so this piece is called Now Fly. I heard a voice say to me, I have given you wings. Now fly. I am the creator, the Alpha and Omega. I am that I am. I am the God of your father, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. I heard a voice say to me, if I am for you, it is better than the whole world against you. So if you can't make it through a storm, how can you say that I am the captain of your life? I have given you wings. Now fly. I heard a voice say to me, love keeps no record of wrong. I am no respecter of person. As I gave Noah, Moses, Abraham, Isaac, I have given you wings. Now fly. I heard a voice say to me, through me all things are possible. Set your mind on things above, not on things of the earth. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will follow. I have given you wings. Now fly. I will supply all your needs, for I have not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. I will never leave you or forsake you. I have given you wings. Now fly. So I want to talk briefly about that piece before I close. Like I mentioned in a previous video, this book of poetry was written when I was in a different space in terms of my belief system, and although there's some parts of it that still stay with me, biblically, I have a different perspective on the Bible. And so this piece where it talks about, I am the God of your father, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. I would look at that from a Nubian standpoint from where I am now. You know, not to change the flavor of the poem or anything. It's just that I always like to let people know, you know, when I wrote this book, it came from a different perspective. I was, you know, in the religious mindset. Not to say there's anything wrong with it. I'm just telling you where I was and that I'm in a different space now. But yet, even though that's the case, I can still see some commonalities between the power in the poem. The idea that we have been, like I said before, that black men have been given wings, and now their only assignment is to fly. You know, that whole idea around flight and being able to understand who you are, knowing who you are, using your gifts collectively to be able to reach those heights. Yeah, just a powerful concept and a powerful theme. Okay, that's going to be it for today, part 5. Next video, I will share a little bit more of my poetry and talk a little bit more about each poem as I share it. And I appreciate you all taking the time to listen. Have a beautiful, peaceful, joy-filled day. Ashe.